Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. SI UK Japan is live now. Over to you, Yushi.
Thank you, Deepika. 皆様、本日はご参加いただきどうもありがとうございます。本日のノーサンブリア大学のスポーツを学ぼうというウェビナーは YouTube で同時配信されます。プレゼンテーション中は皆様マイクとカメラをオフでお願いいたします。プレゼンテーションの最後に Q&A の時間がありますので、途中でもぜひチャットボックスなどを通じてご質問をどんどんいただければと思います。ノーサンブリア大学は1969年に設立されまして、ビジネス、エンジニア、デザイン、あと本日お話ししていただくスポーツなど多岐にわたるコースを提供している大学です。この大学はニューキャッスルというイギリスの北東部に位置していて、この地域の住民が使う方言でジョーディと呼ばれる地元の方たちはとても温かく、ニューキャッスルは学生が最も住みやすい街にいつも選ばれているような場所にあります。教授や講師の方は各業界で第一線で活躍されている方が多く、コースの大半は専門的な認定を受けている実践的な大学です。本日はスポーツのコースについてミハイル先生とポール先生、そしてスペシャルゲストで現役でノーサンブリア大学で PhD の学生として活躍されている鈴木Takaさんにご参加いただいております。では皆さんどうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Okay, Mihail, now I will pass it on to you.
Okay, hi everyone. So I hope you can see my presentation. This is the presentation from the University of Northumbria. And we belong to the Department of Sport, Exercise and Rehabilitation, the Faculty of the Health and Life Sciences. And in this presentation, we are going to focus on the program of Masters of International Sport Management. And for this morning, there are three of us, me, the program leader for this program, and the lecturer in sport management. So we've got also my colleague, Paul, here, who is the director of the transnational education and the lecturer in sport management too. And we have a very special guest, Mr. Taka Suzuki, who's been with us in the university for quite a while. So he's done the sports management first on the level 5, 6, and then he's done the Masters of International Sports Management with us. And he's doing the research now with the university, and of course at the same time he's a well-known international Paralympic swimmer. So he's preparing for the Tokyo Summer Games, of course, now. So we will start with a little overview of the city. So for those of you who don't know, so we are based in the city of Newcastle upon Tyne, which is in the northeast of England. This is quite a big city. So it's one of the top 10 cities in the UK. The city was voted a few times as one of the best in the UK for study. So there are quite many students. So I think one of the 6 people in the city is a student. So you can look for more information on our website. So the link is at the bottom. So in terms of, in general, what the life is like in the city of Newcastle. So, but I have to focus on sport, of course, and I have to say that Newcastle is a great city to study sport. So we have one of the biggest stadiums in the country. So the stadium of the football club, Newcastle United, so which some of you might have heard. So it's been well known in the world of football, of course. So a lot of fans here, so a very passionate crowd. So the stadium is always full. So, and I think this city is very much dominated by football as a sport, but not only football. So we have also one of the most famous half marathon in the world, which is the Great North Run. So happening every year in September. So of course for the past 2 years, so it didn't happen because of the pandemic. So it was done virtually. So it was a virtual half marathon. So, but yeah, I have to say we have a good basketball team too. So we have a very good rugby team in the city. So this city is very, very good for studying sport because you have a lot of sport events going on, and we have a lot of sport organizations around, and we work and we know many of people who work in sport here. So this presentation is about the programs in sport and exercise. So you can see the list of them that we are running as a department. So I think on the top you have the bachelor programs, and at the bottom you can see the master program. So for this particular presentation, we are focusing on the masters in international sport management. But if you have any questions in terms of the other programs that you can see here, so I guess you can ask them in the chat, and we will try to answer, even though we are not the expert in those. So we are running the sport management programs. But anyway, yeah, if you are interested in any of the programs, or like physiotherapy or coaching or physiology, so just feel free to ask your questions. Okay. So as for the masters in international sport management, so a little bit of a history here. So we've been running this program as masters in sport management for more than 2 decades. So Northumbria was one of the first UK providers of the master's degree in sports management in the 90s. So at the time there were not so many of them, so we were one of the first. And yeah, of course, now guys, you probably have a bigger choice, but we have a lot of history behind us. So in 2008, so the program became the Masters in International Sport Management, and I will speak in a second so why we added the word international. So we are refreshing the program, and it's going to be a slightly new structure from the next year. So, and the information that I'm going to show to you so is the new structure. So it might be slightly different what you can see now on the website, because on the website, so we advertise the program for this year, but for the next year, so there is a refresh of the program. So yes, we really think we teach the program internationally. So because we look at the issues in sports management from a global perspective. So we use a lot of international case studies in our teaching. And the big part of the program is the guest speaker sessions. So we, throughout the year, we have the guest speakers from the international sport organizations, federations. You can see some of them here. So like FIBA, the International Basketball Federation, or the Federation of Motorcycle, or WADA, or Rowing Federation. So this is quite a big part of the course. So we do have a lot of international students from a range of countries. So usually the split is 50-50, so between the international and the UK students, but those international guys, so they come from a very wide range of countries, so Asia, North America, Europe, if you are the student on this program, you will have a chance to focus on the issues of your interest. So it may be a sport of your interest, or it may be a topic of your interest. If you like marketing, so there will be a chance for you to focus on the marketing. If you are into finance, so you can choose finance for some of your work. So, and we do have a lot of international colleagues in our teams. So we have people from China, Russia, Canada, France, Finland, and the UK, of course. So, and all of the colleagues have the vast sport business knowledge behind that. So next, really quickly, so I'm going to go through the program structure here. So we have 3 semesters essentially. So the last, the final semester is the dissertation. You can see at the bottom. So, but the first 2, when the teaching happens. So if you are studying with us full time, so it would mean you would have 3 modules in each of them. So you can see at the top, so in the first term, you will have the sport marketing process, the international resource management, and the research process modules. In the second one, which is after Christmas, you will also have 3 modules. You can see them in the middle row here. So I should highlight that we have the options on the program. So you can see the options are 3 modules that you will need to choose from: the international sport event, the sponsorship module, and sport professional practice. So again, we don't have time today to cover the content of the modules. If you have your questions in terms of specific modules, so just feel free to ask, and we will try to answer. Okay, but overall, I think it's fair to say that it is first of all, of course, a management program. So we have the key management disciplines here, like finance, resource management, marketing, governance, and strategy. But again, you don't have to have studied management in the past, okay? So this program is a good fit for those who have not studied management or sport before. So we had a lot of students in the past who are coming from a very different background, non-management or non-sport related. But also, if you studied management or if you have studied sport in the past, I think you can also be part of this program because it is the next level. So it is the international sports management. It's a different angle on sports management. So, and yeah, we do have people coming to us from a range of backgrounds. So many come from sport or management degrees, but likewise we have people who studied history, law, and other subjects in the past. And yeah, I have to highlight again, so there would be a chance for you guys to focus on a topic of your choice, a sport of your choice, maybe a sport organization of your choice. Okay, so what we are trying, so what do we want the students to target? So we want to for the students to be the independent learners. So it means on the master level, so there's more independence, there's probably less supervision than the levels below. So it's going to be about a slightly more complex set of issues. So we do like to teach the real world case studies situations, which happen all the time in sport business. So we want the students to be critical, and we want them to have, and we want to help them to have the key skills that are necessary to work in the international sport business. So, and for that, we are using a range of experts, so the lecturers and the guest speakers, as I mentioned, and we do have some access to the resources to key modern studies about the international sports management, both in terms of theory and practice. All right, really quickly to give you a feel of how the studies are delivered. So we teach in blocks, and we only have 2 days of teaching on campus, which are usually Thursdays and Fridays. So which are the full teaching days. So you would need to be there. And there will be a few 3-hour blocks for the modules, but this means that Monday to Wednesday are basically days when there is no teaching on campus, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to study. No, this is the time for you to work on your task, to do your reading, to study on your own. And many, of course, of our students, so they use that time for volunteering, for sports, and for part-time work. We do have a wide range of different modes and tasks on the program. So reports, essays, so written work, plans, storyboards, and presentations. So there is wide range of tasks that you will be asked to do as part of the course. Okay, finally from my end, so I just want again to show you a list of the organizations which where some of the graduates work, so you have a slightly better feeling where people go work after the program. So, and you can see the different sport organizations here, like the International Sport Federation and the sport clubs and the foundation and the sport event organizers. So, of course, our graduates, so they aim to find jobs in sport industry. So of course it's pretty competitive. So not all of them work in sport. So, but at the end of the day, so this is a management degree. So it will give you a very solid foundation to work in management in general. So some of our people work in the management of hospitality. So that's one of the area, but of course the focus on international sport business. So, and you can see by the range of the organization here that most of the graduates, so they working in sport business, but at the same time, so the management degree so would give you a good skill set, so to work in any business organization internationally. Okay, just lastly from my side, so I have to say, so Newcastle is a great city to study. So I can promise you would have a very good time here. So it's a very dynamic city, very much dominated by sport. So I must highlight that the program we are running here, so it's really fascinating and diverse. So and it has a room to be shaped to your area of interest, as I said, and we are going to be here to help you, of course, to study the international sports management. So I have to pass to my colleague Paul, who is going to speak a little bit more in detail about his module, in the marketing module that he's running on the program. So just to give you a little bit of a feel of how we teach on this program. Paul?
Hello everyone. So I'll put up some slides and I'll talk through a lecture. What I won't do is actually give the lecture, but I'll chat through how we'd present the lecture and what we'd speak about on that lecture. So the lecture that I'm going to speak about is social media and online identity. So what are the advantages and pitfalls? So at the start of a lecture, we would have lecture aims. So it would be the themes we're going to discuss and the kind of learning we would hope to happen. So normally there would be perhaps 2 or 3, but here are the themes we're going to discuss today. So the focus of the lecture would be integrated marketing communication. The notion that communication in marketing is everything. So you could see there's social media, there's public relations, there's conferences and events, there's direct marketing, there's promotional products, there's campaigns, there's invisible marketing. So we'd start from that position. So by the time we got to this lecture, we'd understand that marketing is very, very complex. And it's something that we can control large parts of, but there's other parts we can't control. So we need to find that balance. Part of finding that balance is thinking about, as a brand, what matters to us. And then thinking about, okay, well, what can we control? So what information people get can we control? And that's what we should focus on. So today we can control speaking to you. So we can have YouTube, we could have this live stream, so we can control that. What matters to us is attracting students who want to study at Northumbria, who are interested in sport or who are interested in management and want to see that as a future career. So that's what we're focused on, and we're focusing on the sport programs, and we're trying to control the information that we give to you. So giving you as much information that we can. So during COVID, a lot of things have turned to social media, but social media communication has been around for 15, 20 years as a marketing tool. So let's look at some of the advantages we have by social media. So we can attract a large audience, diverse people, so people on a global nature. We can increase our personal profile. So as individuals, we could become influencers. We could become social media personalities just from our own home. Social media is accessible. So we've got it on our computers, we've got it on our phones, we've got it on tablets, so it's really easy. But it's not free. You need to put effort into marketing. So just going on and having a chat is unlikely to attract anyone to it. There needs to be some kind of strategy behind it. And that's what we look at as marketers, is what's the strategy? It can be interactive. So you could speak to people through social media. One of the massive benefits is you get two-way communications. And that can be a positive or a negative. It could be positive, as in the communication, you're getting really good feedback, or it could be negative. So we see stories the whole time about athletes having nasty messages sent to them, which isn't particularly great. So it can be a negative having that feedback. You can build relationships on social media at a global scale. It's a trendy thing to do. So everyone wants a social media profile. So it's seen as being, you must do this. And you could track how your communication is being read, when it's being read. So as a university, we look at, when we launch a marketing program, who's reading it, what time they're reading it. And by the times people read it, you can know what country they're in, because you usually know it's mid-morning when people start to go on the internet. But there are some disadvantages of social media. So there's a potential for embarrassment. So if you go on without a strategy, it could be embarrassing. You don't come across the way that you want. Your brand isn't represented. It requires resources. Social media, because it's global and it's 24 hours, it can become a drain on time. You always need to service it. So if you have a website that's 2 years out of date, no one's going to be interested. You could damage reputations on a very large scale. So saying the wrong thing, it could easily damage a brand or a person's reputation. It can look amateurish. What you don't want to be is too professional and too slick, because then people think it's marketing. So you want some form of authenticity where it's real people involved. But you need to be careful it doesn't drift into being just amateurish. It could be ineffective. So post something, then forget it. Don't engage in a two-way communication. There's potential legal issues, so you can't just post any content online. So you need to be aware of that. Do you have the right to post it? It could be boring. So sometimes content, it just isn't interesting and people won't come back to your site. And also the lack of control of the communications meaning. So once you've communicated it, how people interpret it and use it is up to them. And that's difficult to control. So one of the things we speak about on the module is personal branding. About you. How do you make yourself unique? So by coming to Northumbria, you're unique. You're coming to one of the oldest sports masters in Britain, one of the first universities ever to offer it. So that makes you unique. But you be in a class full of other people. How do you make yourself unique to them? How do you ensure that you get the job you want ahead of them? So that comes to personal branding. So what's the first thing people think about when they see or hear your name? So we've got Taka with us. So he's a personal brand. The minute everyone speaks about Taka in the university, they're like, oh, he's a really nice guy. So that's the first thing we think. Forget he's a Paralympic athlete. Forget all the medals he's won. He's just a nice guy. That's his personal brand. And everything beyond that is more of his personal brand. So the good news is you could think about what you wanted to present to people. So you could strategically influence it, guide the information you receive. So the reason we think Taka is a nice guy is because he's a nice guy. That's the information we get from him the whole time. Like every time we see him, he's always smiling, always chatting. So that's information we get. So you need to think about, if it's you as a brand, what's your personal brand? How do you see yourself? Then think about how others see you. And somewhere in the middle is that personal brand. It's a mixture of how you think you are and how other people think you are. So you might think you're an expert. Other people might see you as a follower, someone who doesn't really lead. So your personal brand becomes, you become a subordinate. You're someone who is good at doing things, but you're not a leader. You're not the expert in the room. And maybe that's fine. That's a good position to be in. So there we've got the service brand model. And in class would speak about that, would pick that apart, would show that theoretically, this isn't just something that we're making up or based on our opinion. It's something that there's good theory that underpins it. So in class would speak about theories. I would speak about your strong personal brand. So the things you could do to enhance you as a brand. What makes you unique? What's the thing that's going to get you a job? What makes you stand out from your competitors? And look at things like diluting your brand. So what are the things you can do that actually make you just another person? Like just someone else competing for a job. And the idea is when you go for a job, we want Northumbria graduates to have things that they could say that other graduates don't have. They become just another graduate, but you become a Northumbria graduate who's got unique skills. So look at communicating your brand. So if you've studied sociology or you were to study sociology, this is how they would show you communication. You send a message and someone interprets it. In marketing, we know it's much more complex than that. There's a lot of things go on. So you send out a message, but you've thought about the message you want to send. It then goes out into the wide world and people interpret it based on how they see the message, how they are. Then it takes on a new life that's fed back to you. So you might think that you're an expert. People tell you you're a follower. That comes back. And you think, okay, rather than tell everyone I'm an expert, tell people I'm a good team player. So it influences how you communicate because you've got that feedback loop. So we'd start to look at theories like this in marketing. So the thing we need to understand is all communication is political. By that, we mean when we communicate with people, we're wanting to tell them something, we want to give a message. All research is political. So anything that we're learning to teach you that informs our teaching is political. There's a message behind it. Someone has thought about how communication should work. Meaning is multi-layered, so we need to understand that people will get different meanings from the communications we give, and it's open to interpretation. So there will be resistance to some messages that we want to send, and we discussed that in class, how we could overcome those resistances. So you might want to think about what's your authentic brand message. So in class, I typically ask, who are these people? These people will have shaped how we understand sport and how we understand life. So one of them, hopefully you would get, Muhammad Ali, massive sports star, huge brand. Even beyond his fighting time, people knew who he was, recognized the things that he'd done. The other person has probably shaped your life more than Muhammad Ali. Most people don't know who he is. So he's Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the person who invented the internet. But two very different brands. Muhammad Ali put himself out there, very much made himself a very strong brand. So Tim Berners-Lee invented the internet, didn't seek fame or fortune through it, just gave it to the world. A different brand. He saw himself as a scientist there to help make the world better. And that was his brand, just quiet, unassuming. But two people who with different brands who've delivered a different brand message. So things that we'd look at is how we inform people. So what kind of things we could do to inform people. So things like being aware of who we're communicating with, what marketing insight. So think about what they want, what they need to know. So we'd discuss things like that in depth in a lecture. We'd think about, does social media work for everyone? So we think that young people are great on social media and understand it. That isn't necessarily the case. So we need to be aware of that. Not every young person that we think of as digital natives is particularly good on social media and understands it. So we need to help everyone. We need to think about invisible marketing, so the things that we can't see, so the things that people say about us that we haven't informed. So for Taka, it will be things that people read in the newspaper who've never met him, that the only thing they'll know about him is reading about his sport and success in newspapers or online. He can't inform that because he's not involved in that conversation. But he can inform it by winning things. So that creates a message. So it becomes invisible, but still something we can inform the conversation. And the thing that we started with was that level of complexity. So integrated marketing communication. Marketing is massively complex. Omni-channel marketing makes it even more complex. There's so many ways we could get information now. And there needs to be a single message coming out the whole time, no matter how people access it. So if you're thinking about marketing a sports brand or you think about marketing yourself, you need to be aware of all these channels. Another thing to keep in mind is why people use social media. So uses and gratification theory tells us about that. It tells us that people go onto social media because they want to be there. They like being there. They enjoy it. They want to be entertained. So within that, keep your messages relevant. Keep them interested. Monitor and control what you're saying. But most of all, it's about giving people that gratification, making people happy in your marketing. So in summary, we've looked at social media marketing quite briefly. We've suggested that just doing it isn't enough, so having a go. You need to be good at it, and that's what we teach in the marketing module, is how to be good at marketing, how to understand strategies. You need to develop a brand, have a personality, have a brand story, and see the big picture. So understand marketing from the sender side, so your side is the market, but also the receiver. So how your customer's going to receive that message. Share and interpret strategies, so just get to know your consumers well. Monitor invisible marketing, so what are things people saying about you or your brand that you haven't informed? Be aware of non-human distortion, so a website that looks great on a big screen, on a laptop or on a PC might not look good on a mobile phone. So you need to be aware that that might distort your message, make you look amateurish. And then understand uses and gratification. What do people want out of a communication exercise? Then finally, reap the rewards, get the business, become a media personality, have a high profile. So that's the kind of things we'd speak about in a lecture in depth. So what I've covered in 10 minutes would typically take us 3 hours, and it would involve you doing things. You would have tasks. So it would be write what your personal brand is. Then it might be saying to other people in the class, okay, write what this person, so what do they think the other person's personal brand is? So lots of interactive tasks involved there. We would all get a good understanding of what's going on. So that's everything from me. I will now hand you over to Mikhail and then on to Taka.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Paul. So yeah, I'll hand over to Taka, who is going to speak about his time on the program. So yeah, I think Taka did the sports management program first with us for 3 years, and then he did the master course for 1 year. So yeah, it's over to you, Taka.
Thanks, Mikhail. Hi, I'm Taka Suzuki. I am probably known as Takayuki Suzuki, full name, as a Paralympic swimmer. I'm currently in Japan for the Paralympic trials that I participated in last weekend. But as Mikhail said, I have been in Newcastle for a long time, since 2013, and studying at Northumbria University in 2014. I studied in the International Foundation program first to learn how to write essay and report, and then how to present, etc. After that, I studied sports management, which is undergraduate degree, and international sports management, which is postgraduate degree. And now I'm doing a PhD in sports management. So Mikhail talked about the program, and Paul talked about like a lecture. So my talk focused on my experience at Northumbria University and kind of my Newcastle life, which is what you would probably like to know the most from me. Yeah. So in terms of my university life, my study, and I first felt, to be honest, a language barrier in undergraduate sports management, even though I got enough score to study there on the English test, and I got distinction, which was the highest mark at the International Foundation program, because the most of the students were native British, and I had to do group works with them for assessments and within the modules, and they speak very, very fast. So when I try to mention something, they already move on to the next topic or next task. So it was tough to manage them. But my fault was I was a bit too shy. So it made it take it longer to make friends. So I would recommend to some of you who want to study on undergraduate degree first, you should try to speak them and communicate with them a lot, even though you are not confident of your English skills. And please ask lecturers and student support if you have any issues with your study. And they are very kind and helpful, I think. Yeah. And what I learned in undergraduate affects my training as well. For example, I learned sport analysis then, and then I use it to analyze myself once or twice a year to see about my swimming environment and how to improve it. Yeah. And in international sports management, students are more international. So some of them came from overseas. So for me, it was easier to make friends. And we could not travel to Switzerland for a field trip, which was one of the modules of the international sports management. But outside of the study, we had a Christmas party. We went out for drinks a lot, and before the COVID-19 outbreaks. So I could make friends, and then I could ask my friends about assessments or like modules that I missed due to my swimming competitions. It was helpful, and I enjoyed studying more than in undergraduate personally. Yeah, and my experience at Northumbria University broadened my horizons because they have different backgrounds, different cultures, and different thoughts. Yeah, and I think it will help my future opportunity. I don't know yet, but one of my plans is to work for like International Paralympic Committee or internationally working for the Paralympics, para sports or para swimming, etc. Yeah. And in terms of my Newcastle life, I'd like to talk about food first, because I know food is one of the most important factors for Japanese people. And unfortunately, there's no proper Japanese restaurant in Newcastle. I'm sorry about that. But there are some, but the Chinese run them. So they're still tasty, but if you expect they are like you have in Japan, it might be a bit different, but it's still tasty. And you can get Japanese ingredients and seasoning at the Asian supermarket. For example, you can buy, of course, Japanese rice and dried noodle, like soba noodles, udon noodles, natto beans, soy sauce, etc. So if you can make Japanese food, I don't think you struggle to survive in Newcastle. And lastly, I'd like to say Newcastle is one of the most livable cities in the UK. but you might struggle to understand the Newcastle accent, like me on my first year here. So personally, I like Newcastle accent, which is called Geordie. But people in Newcastle speak with the language and that even native British sometimes cannot understand. So I hope you enjoy the Geordie language. And my friend told me I picked some Geordie accent as well. So you might be a Japanese Geordie in the future. So I hope you enjoy studying at Northumbria University, and I hope you have precious time there. And I also hope you like Newcastle and Geordie. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Taka, thank you very much. So yeah, I think it was really valuable for people, because it was really honest, and this is what people need to know before coming to the new country. And I guess we should open the floor for questions, maybe for the next 10 minutes. So Yushi, if you can help us with the questions, please.
Sure. Thank you very much for the amazing presentation and the first-hand information from Taka. 皆様ご清聴いただきどうもありがとうございました。今からQ&A セッションに移っていきます。Zoom の方でももしよろしければぜひお気軽に質問をポストしていただければと思います。今YouTube の方からいくつかご質問をいただいているんですが、ちょっと本日7時終了になりますので、いくつかピックアップさせていただきます。まずそうですね。大学がインターンなどで提携している企業はどのようなところがありますかということですね。はい、ミハイル。We've got some questions from YouTube. And the first one, I think you've already covered this in your presentation, but what kind of companies do you partner with in terms of internship and some career events?
Yeah, I think we mentioned in the presentation that we have the guest speakers from the sports federation. We do not offer a formal internship as part of the program, because we have plenty of other things on the program, so modules and the dissertation, of course. So the students are free, of course, to organize their own placement or their own internship. And I think maybe Taka had a placement when he was on the sports management degree. So, but this is not a part of the master program. So, but of course, you will meet a lot of people from the industry, so the guest speakers, and we do some field visits. So, of course, normally before the pandemic. So now it's been not possible. So, but you will meet people from the sport industry, and of course, if you want to do a placement, a sport, in a sport organization, so we can get you in touch with people. But it's not a formal part of the course.
Thank you very much. The next question is about graduate perspective. What's the average annual salary for a sports management degree graduate?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I don't think there is any reliable data on that. So obviously we do not run this kind of research or survey just to know how much the graduates earn, and they work in different areas of sports management, and some of them in non-sport. So, and basically, they might be at different stages of their careers. So you can maybe try to find some independent studies on that. So I don't know, Paul, if you can add to that, but I don't want really to mislead on that and to give you some figure which might be not true actually.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to give a figure for a few reasons. One is that when they look at sport, they tend to look at sport degrees as a whole. So there'd be sport management, sport science, sport coaching, and they give an average rough salary from that. What it doesn't take into account is where people work. So, for example, in the UK, Newcastle is a very cheap place to live. So a salary here of, say, £30,000 a year would be quite good. In London, £30,000 a year would be a very, very bad salary. So it doesn't take into account where people live. The other thing it doesn't take into account is globally. So £30,000 salary is good in Newcastle, but we have some students from the Eastern Europe where £30,000 a year would be a massive salary. It would be huge. Similarly, we've got students who go on to work in America. £30,000 a year, which would be £20,000 a year, would be a tiny salary. So judging by salaries is difficult. So starting wages is difficult due to the variables. I think that the thing that is worth saying is that there has been research into master's level salaries, and it shows that if you do a master's degree, you tend to earn approximately £4,000 a year more than an undergraduate if you're a male postgraduate. If you're a female postgraduate, it tends to be about £7,000 a year if you've done a business degree, so you do even better. So there's lots of studies that show that no matter what you would have earned as an undergraduate, you're going to earn significantly more over a lifetime by doing a postgraduate degree. The other thing that's worth mentioning is sports postgraduates and sports students are particularly sought after. The reason for that is they know how to do teamwork, they know how to win, they know how to lose, they know how to time manage because they've had to train for sport, and they tend to be competitive. And that's what industry wants, is people who are out there and competitive and have lots of skills. So doing sports degrees, and especially a management degree related to sport, puts you in a good place for careers and for salaries.
Thank you, Paul.
And thanks, Paul, for highlighting that Newcastle is a relatively cheap place to live in the UK. I think Taka mentioned that there are no good Japanese restaurants, which you can find in London, of course, but living in London would be maybe twice more for you than in Newcastle.
Thank you very much. ご質問ありがとうございます。その選手のキャリアの段階によっても、場所によっても、例えばニューキャッスルは結構生活がすごくしやすい、リーズナブルな都市なので、ロンドンと比べたとき、あと他の都市と比べたときに、ちょっと一概には言えないので、そうですね、正確なデータは出てないんですが、ご自身の努力と、チャンスで、それぞれ変わってくるっていうことですね。The next question is, I want to apply for your International Sports Management MSc, but I don't have any sports background or any working experience. Can I still apply?
Yes, of course you can. I think on our website, so you can find a set of criteria that you would need to have. It's basically the first degree, so and the your language skills. So I think we also have some mention there, so that it would be good if your first degree is sports related, but it's not the must. So we do have a lot of people just coming from non-sports studies. So I would say in your personal statement, you need to show your sort of interest in sport and why do you want to do this degree. So, but your lack of background or your lack of work in sports, so is not a no. So you can still be on the program.
Thank you, Michal. ご質問ありがとうございます。And you happen to answer the next question about personal statement. そうですね、スポーツのバックグラウンドがなくても、志望動機書に少なくともスポーツへの関心などを書いていただければ合格の可能性はございますね。We have more questions on YouTube, but I'm afraid due to the time strain, we will need to finish here. We will share the questions with you afterwards through emails. 皆様本日ご参加いただきどうもありがとうございました。もしちょっと時間の関係で全てご質問できなかった場合はまたSIUKまでご連絡いただければ大学の方にご共有させていただきますのでお気軽にご連絡ください。また本日スペシャルゲストでご参加いただいたタカさんはパラリンピックの水泳選手プロフェッショナルな方ですのでせっかくの機会をまたぜひ、今日ご視聴いただいた方で次につなげていただければと思います。Okay, thank you very much everyone. Thank you for joining today. Thanks for your time. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. And I will show now my email. So please feel free to get in touch with me or Paul by email. These are our emails here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.